I'm here to do a brief review of the Santa Clauses on Disney Plus. It's pretty much Santa Claus 4 with the return of Tim Allen back as Santa Claus. I'm Auckland. If you enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button, like button, also share with your friends if you don't mind. Also, please comment, ask me a question or comment in general. I'll do my best to answer them. Also, if you don't mind, hit the notification bell down below, and you will be notified when I go live or upload another video. If you want to become a fan of me, Auckland, then subscribe to the channel, and you will become a fan. I hope so. Now, the Santa Clauses on Disney Plus. It's very, very silly, but overall very enjoyable. Spoilers ahead. You don't just see the return of Tim Allen back as Santa Claus. You also see the return of the woman who played his wife, who was a principal back in Santa Claus 2 and became Santa Claus became Mrs. Claus in the rest of the films. You also get to see the return of Charlie. He's all grown up now. You also get to see the return of Bernard, the head elf, who is now married to an elderly woman who is a celebrity. Santa Claus is retiring, Scott Calvin, because the world has pretty much stopped believing in Santa Claus and in himself as Santa Claus. The world has stopped believing in Santa Claus and Christmas and all that stuff in general is what I meant to say. Sorry. So, a new Santa Claus supposedly gets recruited named Simon. And he has a daughter and all that stuff. And it just became a complete disaster at the North Pole. The Santa coat was alive and was running away from Simon after the coat was given to him by Scott, Santa Claus, and his family. I'm trying to be very brief about this because I've shot this video already, but it didn't work out, so I gotta make it shorter. Santa Claus and his wife have two kids, Cal Buddy Claus, who Buddy Claus was at the end of Santa Claus 3, but he's like a teenager now. He has a full name, Cal. He also has a sister, and his sister talks to animals, and Cal is pretty much going to be the next Santa Claus. That's the way they were setting it up at the end of the series, that Cal's going to be the replacement for his father, Scott Calvin, in the future. And his kids all have powers, and at first they didn't think they really had powers, but the daughter was supposedly talking to animals and was saying that she wasn't, and it was later revealed that she actually does talk to animals because she has powers to be able to do that. The entire North Pole fell apart thanks to Simon. He took over as Santa Claus, destroying Christmas, wanting to make every single day to be Christmas. He was setting it up like a Amazon thing, where you could go online and make deliveries and get everything that you want. Get everything that you want off of online, just have it delivered to you, instead of having to wait for Santa Claus to deliver it to your house on a sleigh pulled by reindeer. Simon's changing everything. All the elves are disappearing at the North Pole because Christmas is supposed to be, the spirit of Christmas is supposed to be believed through giving and the magical of Santa Claus and all that stuff. And Simon's just changing everything. They did some interesting stuff in here, like edible marshmallow pillows were in this series, which was very interesting. One of the elves named Betty was like Scott Calvin's, basically the replacement of Bernard in here. She was like the head elf. She has this other elf that Betty is in love with, and all the other elves and stuff. They're basically having relationships, which actually makes sense because they're not technically kids. They're all a lot older, but Scott and his family wanted to go back to Chicago and try to live normal lives. Scott's wife, I forgot what her principal name was back in Santa Claus 2, but she wanted to go back to being a principal again if possible, and the Cal and his sister wanted to go to high school and learn about real world stuff that they didn't even know about, bills and taxes and all traffic stuff, everything that you can think of that we are used to. They didn't have any of that in the North Pole. They didn't know what that was or any of that stuff. It's very, very silly when it comes to stuff like that. But it kind of does make sense, though, because they've been living in the North Pole and they don't know about any of that stuff. So that kind of does make sense. But, and there was a witch on the show. They had some situations with her. Tim Allen's real life daughter is the sister, his daughter, Santa Claus's daughter, on this series. That's Tim Allen's real daughter in real life. So they actually got to be able to have a moment on the show together, which was really, really cool. And do y'all remember the toy soldiers from Santa Claus 2? Those aggravating plastic soldiers. They made an appearance again on this show. So that was very interesting. And there was a moment where Bernard had to show Scott Calvin the past Santa Clauses, and then Scott got to learn that he was the first ever human Santa Claus, because all the other past Santa Clauses from the past were all created specifically to be Santa Claus for the spirit of Christmas, and Scott and his family got to be the first human family living in the North Pole ever. It's never happened before. And Bernard was kind of iffy about it, but he felt like Scott would be a really good Santa Claus. So that's why Scott Calvin got to be recruited as Santa Claus from the very beginning in the very first movie. So all that information comes full circle in this series. So that's something that we never knew that we needed to actually know about Scott / Santa Claus. The snow globes come back in this series. They basically represent as the spirit of Christmas. But after Simon gets to this point, I can't remember if I mentioned or not, but that the Santa Claus coat was given to Simon so he could be Santa Claus from Scott Calvin after he gave it to him. And the coat is alive, and it's been avoiding Simon and hiding from him and hanging out at the witch's house, and because Betty had discovered that it was there when she went to go visit the witch. And it's very interesting show overall. A lot of stuff that they did here very uniquely and really, really silly. And there's this kind of like a crystal ball type ball that they have that has a spirit of Christmas in it, and it's supposed to be shining bright, and as long as it's shining bright, then all the people around the world are believing in the Christmas and Santa Claus and the spirit of everything. But it was darkening and all that stuff. A lot of modern silly jokes were throughout the entire series. Some of them I felt like were like unnecessary, but it wasn't horrible. But it's just, I was like, okay, they did that joke, alright, whatever. But overall, I really enjoyed this series. I would highly recommend it. If you were wanting Santa Claus 4, and this is pretty much it in a TV show on Disney Plus. But I could go into more stuff, but hopefully I covered it to the point where make you be interested in watching this. It was so good watching Tim Allen back as Santa Claus and the same woman who played as his wife, and we got to see the kids on the show. They had 2 kids on the show, and seeing all the different elves and stuff, and the interesting concept of Santa Claus wanting to retire and being replaced, and then Simon becoming a villain and destroying Santa Claus, and he turns out to be not a villain at the very end when the snow globes got delivered around the world, and the snow globes were showing the kids and the families around the world the spirit of Christmas, which made them believe in Santa Claus again. Because literally, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but all the elves at the North Pole were all disappearing. And by the end of the series, all the elves were reappearing after Scott was able to put on the coat and became Santa Claus once again. And everything got put back together. All the reindeer were able to start flying again after the daughter talked to the reindeer and got them to start flying again. But yeah, hopefully you found some enjoyment out of this video. Like I said, I filmed this video already. I went into more detail in that video, but overall I just could not upload it because it was too long and my phone wouldn't allow me to do it. But please let me know down in the comments, have you watched the series before? Did this video make you halfway be interested in watching the video, even though I was all over the place in this video? But yeah, the Santa Clauses on Disney Plus, I really enjoyed it overall. I'm really glad that they did it. So yeah, I could probably keep going, but I need to soon stop. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. So glad that I watched it. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much. Alright, bye.